I've come across a lot of teachers who say, oh, I've got the odd student who's got a graphical calculator, but I can't help them with that. And I think, what a shame, because if you knew what I knew about graphical calculators, then you would be able to open up so many options for your students, for the ones who have it, and really get them to use it effectively.
You come into teaching as a strong mathematician and students won't be excited about the maths that you necessarily are. But if you think about the way that they're learning mathematics and the way they want to learn it, you have to rethink things yourself. And for me, it's the way that technology has made me think differently about the mathematics that I thought I knew. As soon as I approach a problem that I would have treated in a purely algebraic way, when I then look at the graphical representation of it, it makes me want to ask other questions, makes me think differently about that maths. If all students had access to a graphing calculator, the mathematical learning that takes place would improve. Then when it comes to exams, they'd all be able to perform to their potential.
I have come across certain teachers who have strong viewpoints against technology in general and against the graphic calculator. And that's because they feel that it stops students from thinking, it stops them from, they're not actually doing the maths because they're just copying answers from the graphic calculator. And I can see why they would say that, but then it's about how you use it, not if you should use it. If I want them to think and introduce something without seeing the answer straight away, I wouldn't start with the graphic calculator at that point. If I don't want them to investigate and not rely on prior knowledge, then I would use the graphic calculator for them to investigate and introduce it. And they don't just use it as a tool to check and verify answers. And that's the perception that most of my teachers had, was that's just a tool to check your answers. No, it's a tool that we can investigate, we can introduce topics, we can explore the maths. And if we start to use it like that, embed that within our teaching, then you see a lot more thinking, you see a lot more problem solving, and then you start to value it.
The new app on the graphical calculator for the probability distributions just opens up that topic in a way that you just don't get with older graphical calculators or with scientific calculators. Because every time you go to use it for a calculation, it shows you the corresponding graphs straight away, so that students can get further insight by looking at how that distribution works graphically, and it's giving them more information and more intuition into the topic.
The new A-level is designed that the aspects of mathematics are not discrete components anymore. They're not separate exams for statistics, mechanics, core. It's interdisciplinary now more than it was so beforehand, and I think that really helps people, students, the community, see actually how maths works. What the calculators enable students to do is to see those links more clearly and embed them more, so that they are more likely to remember them and build upon that knowledge in future.
I had a pupil who was coming to me for lessons, and I said, you do know it solves equations, don't you? No. You do know that you can find multiple roots of a trig equation from your calculator? No. God, can I really take that into my exam? And yes, you can. You still have to show your algebraic solution. You still have to know the underlying theory, but your calculator is there as a support in your exam.
When my students are asked to find the equation of a tangent to a curve, and the tangent happens to go through the origin, and they find that there are two possibilities, they then reach for their graphing calculator and think, what's this other one? What's going on? Why have I got two answers when I was expecting only one? And it makes them better mathematicians. It makes them make links. So I think to see that in your classroom, when the students are asking their own questions, they are becoming mathematicians.
You see now exam questions will come with the graph drawn, so that the graphical calculator student hasn't got an advantage over the other student. But the student who's had a graphical calculator all along will be so used to, every time you get an equation, you look at its graph, you see what you can learn. So the graph in the exam question helps them more than another student who's not used to working in that graphical way.
The student, he asked me a question, an exam question, and we started to look into it, and before we knew it, we put a whiteboard on top of a table, and then it was almost like when you go into this brainstorming where you have a mind map and everything, and then suddenly the whole board was filled up with maths from different topics. And in each time he was asking, well, why does that happen? And then I was like, well, I don't know, try the calculator and see how that looks. And then we would go back and forward to the calculator. And then before we knew it, we had a whiteboard full of just writing on there. And then that's just sitting there thinking, I could do this. This is magical. And then that word coming from a student for maths, it doesn't happen every day.
Casio offer an introductory training session for your school, online training for an hour, by which time you should be reasonably confident to explore run mode on the calculator and the graph mode on the calculator. Casio's website has lots of videos and leaflets that explain how to achieve what you want to achieve from the calculator. And there's also a whole set of classroom resources for you to use in the classroom. Topic driven. I want to teach the factor theorem. Then there is a resource on our website of how you could use graphic calculators to take an investigative approach for that. The student worksheet is there, the how to use the calculator specifically for that is there, some prompts, some matching cards, and all the answers are there for you to use and incorporate into your lesson as you see fit when you need to teach that topic.
I remember one of our older teachers who retired. He was a principal, a maths teacher here, and he used to say, if I can do it, everyone can do it. And he was very traditional, and he tried it, and he saw the effect in it. So I would say give it a go, and then you'll see.